The moment my 7-year-old daughter burst into tears in the middle of her birthday party, I knew someone had crossed a line. What I didn't know was that the person responsible was my own mother-in-law. And she had just called my little girl a soldier's brat while standing in my house. The funniest part? She had absolutely no idea that the soldier she was mocking was actually a full colonel sitting 3 feet away from her. My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how my mother-in-law humiliated my daughter in front of dozens of people, and how her own arrogance destroyed everything she thought she controlled. Growing up, I dreamed of serving my country. I joined the military at 18 and spent years working harder than anyone around me. The road wasn't easy. I missed holidays, birthdays, and family gatherings. I trained in brutal conditions. I sacrificed relationships. I sacrificed sleep. I sacrificed comfort. But every promotion was earned. Every medal was earned. Every rank was earned. Eventually, after nearly 20 years of service, I became a colonel. It was the proudest achievement of my life. The only thing I loved more than my career was my daughter, Emily. She was 7 years old, kind-hearted, intelligent, and had the biggest smile in the world. Her father, my husband Daniel, adored her too. At least, that's what I thought. The problem started with Daniel's mother, Patricia. From the day we got married, Patricia hated me. At first, she hid it behind fake smiles. But over time, the mask slipped. According to her, I wasn't a proper wife. I worked too much. I traveled too much. I wasn't home enough. What she conveniently ignored was the fact that my income paid most of our bills. While I was advancing in my military career, Daniel bounced between jobs. Sometimes he worked. Sometimes he didn't. Yet somehow Patricia always blamed me for everything. Whenever Emily won an award at school, Patricia would say, "Imagine how much better she'd do if her mother stayed home." Whenever I was deployed, she'd whisper things like, "Poor child. Her mother chooses work over family." I tolerated it for years. Mostly because I didn't want Emily caught in the middle. But Patricia's resentment only grew stronger. Then came Emily's 7th birthday. We organized a large party in our backyard. Friends, neighbors, relatives, classmates, everyone was invited. Emily spent weeks planning every detail. She picked the decorations herself. She helped choose the cake. She even made little thank you cards for her guests. Seeing her excitement made every long day worth it. That afternoon, the yard was filled with laughter. Children were running everywhere. Music played softly in the background. For once, everything seemed perfect. Then Patricia arrived. The moment I saw her step out of her car, I felt tension settle in my stomach. Something about her expression felt wrong. She wasn't smiling. She looked irritated. Almost angry. I tried to ignore it. For the first hour, everything went smoothly. Then I noticed Emily standing near Patricia. My daughter looked uncomfortable. Patricia was speaking to her with that familiar condescending smile. Before I could walk over, Emily's face crumpled. Tears filled her eyes. The entire party suddenly felt silent. My daughter ran straight toward me. "Mommy." She threw her arms around me and started crying. I knelt beside her. "Emily, sweetheart, what's wrong?" She struggled to speak. Finally she whispered, "Grandma said I'm just a soldier's brat." The world stopped. For a moment I couldn't process what I'd heard. Then my daughter continued. "She said military people don't belong around respectable families." I felt something inside me snap. Years of insults directed at me were one thing. But attacking a 7-year-old child? That was different. I stood up slowly. The backyard had gone completely quiet. Everyone was watching. Patricia didn't even look embarrassed. In fact, she looked proud. I walked toward her. "What exactly did you say to my daughter?" Patricia crossed her arms. "You heard her. Repeat it." A smug smile appeared on her face. I said she's acting like a soldier's brat. Gasps echoed around the yard. Several guests looked horrified. But Patricia wasn't finished. You military people always think you're heroes. My hands clenched into fists. You've spent years pretending your little career makes you important. I could feel everyone's eyes moving between us. Then Patricia laughed. Honestly, Sarah, you're basically just a government employee wearing a uniform. The disrespect wasn't surprising. What shocked me was her confidence. She truly believed she could say anything without consequences. What she didn't realize was that most people at the party knew exactly who I was. Several guests were military officers. Others were local officials. A few were veterans. They all understood the significance of my rank. Patricia didn't. Because she had never cared enough to ask. Then came the first major twist. One of my guests stepped forward. Retired General Michael Harper. A family friend. A man Patricia had assumed was just another neighbor. His voice was calm. Do you have any idea who you're speaking to? Patricia rolled her eyes. Her. The general stared at her. No. You're speaking to Colonel Sarah Mitchell. Suddenly the atmosphere changed. Patricia blinked. The smile vanished from her face. What? The general continued. Colonel Mitchell commands thousands of personnel. Patricia laughed nervously. That's ridiculous. Nobody laughed with her. Nobody. For the first time all afternoon, uncertainty appeared in her eyes. Then another guest spoke. A local reporter. I've interviewed Colonel Mitchell twice. Another guest added, she's received multiple commendations. A third said, she's one of the most respected officers in the region. Patricia's face turned pale. I could practically see reality crashing into her. The woman she spent years belittling wasn't some insignificant employee. She was one of the highest-ranking people Patricia had ever met. But things were about to get even worse. Because at that exact moment, my husband Daniel stepped forward. I expected him to defend me. I expected him to defend our daughter. Instead, he looked nervous. Then he said something that shattered my marriage. Mom didn't mean it like that. I stared at him. What? He shrugged. You're overreacting. The words hit harder than any insult Patricia had ever thrown at me. My daughter had been humiliated. I had been publicly attacked. And my husband was defending the person responsible. Emily was still crying behind me. Daniel didn't even notice. That was the moment I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just Patricia's behavior. Daniel had been enabling it for years. Every insult. Every criticism. Every act of disrespect. He had allowed all of it. Suddenly dozens of memories made sense. The excuses. The silence. The refusal to stand up for me. I wasn't dealing with one toxic person. I was dealing with two. The party ended shortly afterward. Guests left awkwardly. Patricia stormed out. Daniel followed her. That night, Emily fell asleep crying. I sat beside her bed for hours. Something inside me had changed. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. The next morning, I started gathering financial documents. Property records. Bank statements. Everything. And that's when I discovered another secret. A devastating one. Over the previous 3 years, Daniel had secretly given Patricia nearly $80,000. Money from our joint accounts. Money I earned. Money meant for our daughter's future. My hands shook as I reviewed the transfers. Every excuse suddenly made sense. The missing savings. The unexplained withdrawals. The financial stress. I confronted Daniel immediately. His face told me everything before he even spoke. He knew. He had been caught. You stole from us, I said. It wasn't stealing. It was our daughter's money. He couldn't answer. Because he knew I was right. Within weeks, I filed for divorce. The legal process moved quickly. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records don't lie. Neither do bank transfers. Then came the final twist. During court proceedings, more hidden transactions surfaced. The total amount wasn't $80,000. It was nearly $200,000. The judge was furious. Daniel's credibility collapsed instantly. Patricia's involvement became impossible to deny. The same woman who called my daughter a soldier's brat had spent years living off the money intended for that child. The outcome was devastating for both of them. Daniel lost the house. Patricia faced legal consequences related to the transferred funds. Their relationship with most relatives collapsed. People who once supported them began distancing themselves. The truth had finally come out. Meanwhile, Emily and I started rebuilding our lives. Slowly. Carefully. One day at a time. About a year later, Emily asked me a question while we were baking cookies. Mom? Yes, sweetheart. Why was Grandma so mean? I looked at her for a long moment. Then I smiled gently. Sometimes people are unhappy with themselves, so they try to hurt others. She thought about it. Did we do something wrong? My heart broke. I pulled her into my arms. No. Not even a little. Not even a little. She smiled. And for the first time in a long time, I realized we were going to be okay. A few months later, I attended a military ceremony where I received another commendation. Emily stood beside me proudly. When my name was announced, the audience applauded. I looked down at my daughter. She squeezed my hand and whispered, "That's my mom." In that moment, nothing else mattered. Not Patricia. Not Daniel. Not the betrayal. Not the humiliation. Because the people who tried to make my daughter feel small ended up destroying their own lives. And the little girl they called a soldier's brat? She grew up knowing her mother fought battles both on and off the battlefield, and won every single one of them.